last race of the weekend, obviously, and the track conditions are a lot different. So, I think we're gonna see some guys here on the start gonna be going for it. They got through turn 1 pretty cleanly, yesterday. So we'll see if they can do it again.
Yesterday we had a caution and a restart with about 4 laps to go, and what happened is Ed Jones, Santi Urrutia, and Dean Stoneman put on an incredible battle. It was Ed Jones, though, ultimately, who went from first to third, back to the lead on 1 lap. He went to victory lane, and afterwards, a happy driver picked up his 2nd career win.
It was first to third to first and about a half a length of the racetrack. You got past going into 1, but you stayed right there and were ready to pounce and anything happened. Talk about that last lap a little bit first.
Yeah, obviously after the restart, it was always going to be difficult with such a long run down the straight. I guess everyone used that push to pass. And I was in the middle, Stoneman on my inside, Urrutia on the outside. And, I just avoided the crash, so easily it could have been all 3 of us out. And then it was a bit really frustrating because I'd done all that work the whole race, and then the last 2 laps I was down the 3rd. But yeah, I say patient. The key to this championship has been consistent and not taking unnecessary risks. And Santiago made another way too risky move, which then gave me the lead again. So yeah, fantastic job by the team. Again, I can't thank them enough. And yeah, Cooper tyres. I locked up actually in that move, locked it up massively, and I had a massive flat spot. But fortunately, the tyres still stayed intact. And the push to pass from the Mazda powered engines is incredible. You can really feel it, and it made the racing exciting and very tough for me.
I misspoke. It was Ed Jones' 2nd win of the season, not of his career, but regardless, just an incredible race yesterday. 16 drivers. Here's a look at the rundown, how they'll start today. Ed Jones on the pole with Santi Urrutia to his outside. Felix Sorales and Felix Rosenquist in row 2. Dean Stoneman and R.C. Enerson in row 3. Row 4 is Zach Veach and Scott Anderson. We've already got one sideways. That appears to be R.C. Enerson, who is supposed to start 6th. So we'll cross our fingers and hope there's no damage to that machine. It's a bit of a bizarre way to start this race as he pulls away. It appears to be okay, but he'll have to start at the tail of the field with that car coming to a stop. So again, it'll be Veach starting 7th, Anderson 8th, Hargrove 9th, Shelby Blackstock 10th, Kyle Kaiser, and we're still wrecking. We've got Andre Negrau, who has now hit the outside of the front straightaway wall and has ripped off the front wing. Sage, you were watching that. That 17 car now is going to roll to a stop in front of Michael Young, but is this just a situation of drivers on cold tires?
I don't know. This is a little silly. It's you got 2 guys go around. One guy made contact. That's pretty heavy. His day's done. He's got bent suspension right there, and I think these guys are just warming up their tires too hard. I've never been one to warm my tires up by going side to side. You actually effectively get it the most when you just go gas, brake, but that's the thing about being young. These guys don't know that, and as you can see right here, it just looks like he's just warming his tires up and got on the throttle, maybe just got it a little loose, I don't know, but it's a learning experience. He'll never make that mistake again, I bet.
What a bizarre situation after a race that was wild yesterday. R.C. Enerson spins. His car will restart at the tail of the field, and as you mentioned, pretty heavy damage to the front of that car for Andre Negrau. The left front suspension, that's going to need a lot of work, and we were supposed to go green this time by, but there's going to be a pretty hefty cleanup along the front straightaway. So let's bring in our turn announcers. We have 3 of them to call some of the action today. Michael Young's down there in turn 1. I know you could probably see, Michael, some of that debris that's laying down on the racetrack. You had one heck of a view yesterday. We're hoping for just as much excitement down there in turn number 1.
Boy, that restart was fantastic. Indeed, all the action down here in turn 1 yesterday, and then again down in turn number 7. Indeed, the Andre Negrau machine. I saw the contact with that, and as Sage Karam had said, that broken suspension looks like his day will be done before it even got started. My view, turn 1, a right-hander, then the left-hander into turn number 2, a very tight turn 3, then a sweeping turn 4. A lot of speed through there, although they'll break a little bit. They will carry speed. The quick switchback. Turns 5 and 6, a quick left-hander, then right-hander, and then they make their way down Holman Boulevard. It is a quick back portion of this course, and that will be in the view of Kevin Lee.
It is a spectacular view here. First, we can see virtually all of Indianapolis, all the way downtown. including Lucas Oil Stadium, the home of the Indianapolis Colts. As far as the race course is concerned, we have a view of everywhere except the exit of turn number 1 and the start-finish line on the main straightaway. We'll pick them up and focus mostly out of turn 6 on the second longest straightaway down towards turn 7. That's through Holman Boulevard. That's a passing area, and that's where the race was ultimately decided yesterday in race number 1 when Ed Jones, who had just been passed on the restart, got the lead back going from 3rd to 1st. They'll wind through the right-hander in 8, the left-hander in 9, the right-hander in 10, coming back up towards the oval. And in oval turn 2 is where we will find Jake Query.
Thank you very much, Kevin. Yes, indeed. This is where they work their way onto the oval portion of this famed racetrack, of course, before going back onto the main straightaway. It's a right-handed turn. It essentially is about 3 lanes, or if you will, wide, but that doesn't mean necessarily they can do exactly that as they sweep around to the right-hand side, work their way onto this part of the oval, just about 3/4 of a mile or so, but it's a very quick right-handed turn that leads to another left. That's 11, 12, 13 combo before they work their way back onto the straightaway. It's the south end of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. They will go into a very, very strong, and I can assure you, very brisk wind when they do so. It is windy here in the south end at IMS. That might create a challenge because the wind tends to kind of get stuck and whip around here in this south quadrant of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, Nick. 3
of the best in the business out there. Going to be awful fun to when we eventually get going to racing here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, to throw it around a little bit. This race is scheduled to go for 35 laps or 1 hour. That clock has already started. The lap counter has not, because we have yet to see the green flag. Sage, we've all been walking around here today at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. In terms of the conditions, this is about as cold as I remember it at the racetrack here in quite a long time.
Yeah, no, it's very cold. I don't want to be out there driving right now. Your fingers would be frozen. But, these guys, it's going to be a little challenging. I think, as we saw in the warm-up lap there, it's probably just the tires are just trying to take a lot of time to get up to temp, and it's just caught those guys out getting on throttle probably, and then that's why they spun. But, yeah, it's going to be challenging. I think the track conditions a lot different from yesterday. I was talking to Veach, and he said, yeah, it's completely different. Cars just acting a little bit, not a little bit, but a lot differently from the race yesterday. So we'll see what these guys did overnight with their setups and see if they can go quick.
Our IndyCar driver analyst Davey Hamilton sitting in with us as well today. Davey, you've been to a lot more racetracks and a lot more races than both of us. You remember a day similar to this, being so cold?
Well, I've been in a few actually, and most of them being right here, actually, surprisingly. But this place is, such a beautiful day yesterday, right? And then this cold front comes. I actually was out earlier today in the 2-seater. Not only was it super cold, it was wet out there. So this track was a challenge, much more difficult than yesterday, I'll guarantee you.
All right, let's grab a quick word with Andre Negrau. He's with Greg Rakestraw.
Guys, he's still shaking his head before we even start the conversation. I know this has to be a nightmare for you. Walk us through what happened on the front straightaway.
Yeah, just start to warm up the tires and everything, the brakings, and actually my teammates just spun on turn 13, and I, always warm up the rear tires, and the car just moving back to the wall because it's too cold, and it's all my fault. I really sorry for the Sam Smith guys, for the guys, for mechanics and everything. I'm sorry.
I would assume that the Freedom 100 13 days from now can't get here fast enough, right?
No way.
Andre, best of luck next time out.
Thank you very much.
Nick?
All right, thank you so much, Greg Rakestraw. That's a tough way to start the day for Andre Negrau, who's actually done a pretty nice job to start the season, taking care of that race car. Has been right there in the championship hunt. So he will have to wait until the Freedom 100. Field is double file out of turn number 14. We will go racing this time. Green flag in the air. Ed Jones will lead the field to Michael Young in turn 1.
Well, the field looking very good. A couple stepping out. Dean Stillman the first. Sorrellis battling his teammate Ed Jones on the outside. And Sorrellis will miss the turn. He'll be going through the grass. It's Ed Jones, then Rosenquist. Stillman P3. Sorrellis nearly pearls in front of the entire field. The field able to work their way around him. Great start for Ed Jones. Now Felix Rosenquist looks to the inside. Now Ed Jones, Rosenquist, one car length separates him into the eyes of Kevin Lee.
There's going to be a drag race down to turn number 7. Battle for second right now. Stoneman on the outside gets around Rosenquist. Can he make it stick through 7? And from behind, Zach Veach tags his teammate Felix Rosenquist. Rosenquist is turned. Veach is going through the grass. A melee in turn number 7. Everyone does peel away. but two team cars come together.
All of this happens behind the leader, and Stoneman now is the leader. Then all of a sudden it's Urrutia in the second place. Field at the back, you've got Kyle Kaiser getting a little bit racy. He's got to lock up the brakes. Rest of the field already now through turn 14.
And we're already seeing another car that's occurred some contact on that opening lap. That's the 22 of Neil Alberico, who has heavy damage to the right front of that wing, dragging on that right front tire. So there's about 4 or 5 cars, Michael Young, who are damaged. Meanwhile, battle for 5th as they head to turn 1.
Indeed, that battle for 5th starts to unfold. Kyle Kaiser has 5th. Scott Hargrove wants it. Dean Stoneman nearly gets into that curbing, loses the back end just a little bit. Other than that, Zach Veach back on the charge, way in the back of the field. He makes his way around Dalton Kellett. Then it's Clayman DeMello. It looks like maybe problems for Pedrahita as he slows through turn number 3.
So all kinds of problems last time by while we were watching the battle for second. Ed Jones went off and has slipped back to 8th position. It's Stoneman out front by 15 car lengths. Urruti in second, then a battle for third with Sorrellis and Anderson. Stoneman clears turn number 10. Urrutia will get through there. And then it's the battle for third place that rages on as they head back towards the oval.
Stoneman with a sizable gap, 15 car length advantage. Then Urrutia, Sorrellis. Indeed, Kaiser taking a long, hard look at Anderson here as they take that right-hander. He can't make the move. Everybody now single file, and for the first time, Nick, safely through on this circuit.
Boy, we can all exhale just a bit. That was wild as we had action all throughout the field. The top 5 is Dean Stoneman, Santi Urrutia, Scott Anderson, Felix Sorrellis, and then Kyle Kaiser, who is up to 5th. He's right on the rear wing, Michael Young. He'll take a look to the outside looking for 4th.
Indeed, and Scott Anderson, Kyle Kaiser, that is the battle. Kaiser locks him up into turn number 4. Anderson able to hold that position for 4th. A nice start for Scott Anderson. Started in the 8th position, so with all the melee out there, able to pick up the 4. But for Dean Stoneman, he's on a cruise right now, 15 car lengths to Kevin Lee.
Stoneman took the lead on the late restart, lost it going into turn number 7. He's got the early jump here today by about 20 car lengths on Urrutia. Urrutia comes through in second. The battle is back for 4th position. Anderson and Kaiser. Kaiser still taking a look. They nearly go side by side through turn number 9. Kaiser can't get it there, and now he will look inside in turn number 10. Kaiser to the inside, Jake, looking for that 4th position on Scott Anderson. Can he get him?
Been an active day for Kyle Kaiser already. Scott Hargrove now watching those two go side by side, taking that right-hander, and Kyle Kaiser once again holds him off.
So move Kaiser up to 4th, Scott Anderson back to 5th, and as we mentioned, Scott Hargrove is all over Anderson's rear wing now in 6th. Before I get your thoughts on the first few laps here, Sage Karam, let's go to pit lane. Greg Rakestraw, you're standing by while looking at the work being done on that RC Anderson machine.
Yeah, they were hoping to at least keep him running, knowing that basically your day, obviously running for the lead, is over with as soon as you come to pit lane. He sat in the car with the engine cover off, but after they kind of started it a couple of times, the crew here simply said, day's done, we're killing the engine. So RC's going to finish 15th today. We'll get a word from him coming up in just a matter of moments, guys.
All right, Sage Karam, we continue to watch a lot of flurry, a lot of drivers, ducking and diving around this course. Let's talk about a couple of these situations that we saw on the opening lap. First with Felix Sorrellis, where he had to drive through the grass. I kind of flinched thinking, boy, he may drive back right on the racetrack.
Yeah, no, he's lucky he didn't get collected with anybody. But I did the same thing when I raced sports cars here. Missed turn 1 and drove through the grass, and the grass here is fairly smooth. So no harm, no foul there. Just gets back in line. But yeah, the rest of that was hectic. It's still hectic. I mean, some of the blocks are incredible. And these kids are out there blocking each other, and they won't get away with that in IndyCar, that's for sure. I found that out, that those guys don't like that type of driving, that's for sure.
How about the rundown to turn number 7? Rule number 1 in racing is don't take out your teammate.
Yeah.
Didn't get a chance to see a replay, but how tight does it get to that left-hander where Veach and Rosenquist make contact?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'd have to see a replay of that for sure, but it just looked like, Zach got down there, was trying to pass Santiago, and it looks like a thing that happened yesterday where Hargrove kind of missed his brake zone. It looked like that what happened with Zach, missed his brake zone, and unfortunately ran into his teammate, which is the number 1 rule in racing is don't hit your same color. So that's what he did, red for red.
It was wild yesterday. It is wild again today. Dean Stoneman, your leader, as we have 5 laps in the book. Santi Urrutia runs second. Felix Sorrells looks quick again in third. Kyle Kaiser is fourth. Further back, Scott Hargrove runs fifth. Ed Jones now slips around Scott Anderson. He'll take that 6th spot as they run side by side, and they will clear him, and Anderson will get back around Jones. Jake Query, great battle headed your way for 6th.
Indeed, it's become a 3-car battle. The one trying to hold it off is Hargrove. Then you go back just a bit, and Jones is right there working in on Anderson. Takes a look to the inside, now slips back behind him. They work their way in that 12, 13, 14 combo. Jones still trying to make a move, but can't get it just yet.
We got Greg Rakestraw down there with R.C. Enerson. Hold tight just a moment, Greg. I just want to see how these drivers, if they can make their way down into turn number 1. Scott Anderson does appear he has a nice enough gap. So let's go back to pit lane, Greg. R.C. Enerson not even able to see the green flag.
All right, walking over to R.C. Enerson right now. All right, R.C., what happened out there today?
Yeah, I mean, we just had a turbo go. We lost all boost pressure, so I mean, it was just a huge struggle to. They gave me a great car, so I mean, it's just really disappointing. But now we just got to look forward to the freedom.
I was going to say, all energies and efforts now turn to carb day before they don't you?
Oh yeah, definitely, 100%.
Best of luck next time out. Further down pit lane we go to Rob Howden.
Hey guys, we saw the contact between Zach Veach and his teammate Felix Rosenquist. Well, Veach is going to come out on the short end of that one. If you look at the race car, the right front wing dangling on that car, number 5, they have a wing pulled out here at pit lane waiting for him, but of course they don't want to lose any kind of track position. If we were to go to yellow, you know they'd bring him in, but again, left front wing damage to the car of Zach Veach.
Ed Jones was able to clear Scott Anderson, but Jake, he's got 2 more cars, Rosenquist and Clayman DeMello, all over the rear of that number 77.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, Rosenquist, who of course started up front, fell back, trying to work his way back through. It just seems like when they go into that combination coming off the oval, Nick, it gets a little bit tricky. I've got to think the wind has something to do with that as well.
Front 3 have checked out. They're still pretty tight with Stoneman, Urrutia, and Sorrells, but Michael been keeping an eye on that 7th place running Scott Anderson as Rosenquist in that red Bellardi car is bearing down on him.
Yeah, Scott Anderson just simply overdrove turn number 1 last time by. Ed Jones was putting on the pressure. Anderson nearly lost the spot to Felix Rosenquist as he locked him up through turns 3 and 4 last time by. Able to get back into a rhythm. Talking about Scott Anderson is how he gaps that Felix Rosenquist car by about 5 car lengths.
So Ed Jones is right now midway down the backstretch. Meanwhile, the leader, Dean Stoneman, has already cleared 7, 8, 9. He's into turn number 10. So Jones, after the early mishap on the first lap, is trying to make his way back through. His next target is Scott Hargrove for 5th position.
I'll tell you, that front 3 really checked out, already into turn number 12. Then you wait, and then finally that next combo. Hargrove, Jones right there, Anderson, Rosenquist, and Kaiser. Zach Veach, Nick, would like to try to bring that quartet into his view.
Sage Karam, that battle for the lead is starting to tighten up here with Stoneman trying to hold off Urrutia.
Yeah, no, he's right there. I don't know if he's going to get him right here, but if he gets just a hair closer next lap, as you see, Dean's actually playing defense right now, and that might hurt him.
Boy, Dean Stoneman, he did. He drove it an awful deep into turn number 1, and that allows Santi Urrutia to close right up on the rear wing. They'll swing wide out of turn number 3, and then through the switchback of turns 4 and 5, Kevin Lee, a 3-car battle for the lead as they make their way down Holman Boulevard.
Out of 6, here they come. 1, 2, 3, separated by 2 car lengths. Urrutia is going to look to go to the outside as Stoneman protects on the inside. They hit the brakes, and from behind, squeezing by from the 3rd position, Sorrells side by side with Urrutia. Can't make it stick. Urrutia hangs on to 2nd. Stoneman 3 car lengths out in front.
So Stoneman now trying to hold off both. Sorrells had to back off just a bit, gave Urrutia just a little bit of breathing room. Dean Stoneman, 3 car lengths advantage. Then it's Santiago Urrutia right there. Sorrells, long gap back before you get to that 18 of Kyle Kaiser.
The front 3 will snake their way through turns 12, 13, and 14. They cross the yard of bricks. There will be just 25 laps to go. The front 3 have gapped the rest of the field by nearly 6 seconds. But Michael Young, it's still Dean Stoneman, Santi Urrutia, and Felix Sorrells, the front 3 headed to you.
Last time by, Dean Stoneman drove way down to the inside, hit that curbing, nearly forced him, as Sage Karam said, to the outside. Urrutia nearly locks him up into turn number 1. Sorales closes in just a little bit. Stoneman able to gap second place Urrutia by about 5 car lengths. Then Sorales stalks just 2 car lengths behind Santi Urrutia. The rest of the field strung out behind him, but Dean Stoneman about a 10 car length gap now over second place Urrutia.
And it looks like Sorales might have a little run again, trying to make up ground for second place on Urrutia. No one will make an attempt going into turn number 7. It's Stoneman in the left-hander, then Urrutia, then Sorales, and then about 25 to 30 car lengths back to 4th place Kyle Kaiser. Now we see Ed Jones has worked his way into 5th. He got around Scott Hargrove, who was 6th. Scott Anderson, Felix Rosenquist, Clayman DeMello, and Veach round out the top 10.
I'm not certain Sorales isn't the man to watch here, because while Urrutia and Stoneman battle things out up front, I've got the feeling that Ford machine might have a little more giddy-up left in it, and he's just waiting to pounce. But right now, the distance among that top 3 the same as last time by.
Stoneman, Urrutia, Sorales further back. The battle starting to set up. Scott Hargrove, Scott Anderson, and Felix Rosenquist 6th, 7th, and 8th. Everybody minding their P's and Q's. Up front, everything's separated by about 5 or 6 car lengths. Davey Hamilton, when this road course was redesigned, they talked to a lot of drivers. They wanted a lot of input, and I've been awful impressed. Have you been with just how racy we've seen, not only in the Verizon IndyCar Series, but with these light stripes?
You know, one thing that they did is they allowed the IndyCar drivers to really kind of have a voice in this racetrack, and what they've done is just created so many more passing zones. So you can see the lot of straightaway, and anytime there's a long straightaway, that means heavy braking at the end of it creates a lot of passing, and they've done that in several places, and just the amount of the distance of this track, number 1, but the length of the straightaways between Holman and this front straightaway is pretty incredible. It's a fast, super fast course. It's fun to drive, but passing is just awesome.
Sage Carey, we've been watching. Scott Anderson was one of the real beneficiaries of the crazy start. He got up into the top 3. Since then, he's had his hands full with guys all over that rear wing.
Yeah, he has, you know, and I mean, he's lucky to still be out there. He's blocking pretty hard, and he's gotten really, really close to some of these guys. But, yeah, no, Felix made a good pass. Felix looks really quick right now, but it's just a struggle to get by some of these guys. Looks like whenever they get close, they get that dirty air, like we talked about yesterday, and it's just hard to get there.
Yeah, Hargrove and Rosenquist have both slipped around Scott Anderson to drop him back to 8th. Up next is Zachary Clayman DeMello, who's just about 4 to 5 car lengths. Michael Young, that's 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th, led by Scott Hargrove down the front straightaway. All those drivers separated by about 4 or 5 car lengths.
Yeah, Scott Hargrove got around Scott Anderson in turn 1 last time by. Then Rosenquist made the pass around Anderson in turn number 7. That battle very tight. Rosenquist starting to close in just a little bit on Scott Hargrove. Hargrove made a very nice pass down into turn 1. Broke late, really broke the rhythm of Scott Anderson. But now, as I said, Felix Rosenquist closes within about 3 car lengths to that Hargrove machine.
Meanwhile, we want to keep an eye on what's happening up front. Stoneman still leads, but that gap is back down to 6 or 7 car lengths, and the battle for second is tightening up, Jake. Urrutia is only a couple of car lengths in front of Sorales.
Yep, Sorales right there, and I'll tell you what, the gap back between those front 3 and then that 18 machine of Kyle Kaiser, while not right now may not seem formidable, has certainly shrunk just a bit. The leader, Dean Stoneman, about 8 car lengths now in front as he moves his way onto the straightaway.
Move Felix Rosenquist up a spot. He was able to get around Scott Anderson, so Rosenquist now moves into 7th. Scott Hargrove runs 6th. 5th is Ed Jones. 4th is Kyle Kaiser. But Michael, the battle for second is on in turn number 1.
Sorales gets around the outside of Santi Urrutia. What a great move. He juked on the inside, then went to the outside as Urrutia went down low. Sorales went high and made a brilliant pass around Santi Urrutia. Very reminiscent of their battle yesterday, and Sorales is on the move. That allowed Stoneman to get away about 15 car lengths, so move the machine of Sorales up to P2.
And remember, late in the race yesterday, Felix Sorales was the fastest car. Now he's got clean track between himself and the leader. Stoneman was allowed to get away a little bit as the two battled into turn number 1, but already Sorales has caught back up with to about 10 car lengths of the leader, Dean Stoneman, then another 5 or 6 back from Sorales to Urrutia.
So how about that pass, Sage Karam? I mean, for Felix Sorales, we knew he's had a fast car. We saw it yesterday when he was turning quick laps. How about that jumping to the outside to grab second?
I cringed a little bit because both those guys are very aggressive drivers, and Felix made it stick. That's a hard move to do on the outside, then had the inside for turn 2. So good move to him. He's got a really fast race car. I think in a few laps here, we could see him battling for the lead.
Leader Dean Stoneman flashes across the yard of bricks, and I'll tell you what, Michael Young, Felix Sorales is on the move. He's already closed the gap to Stoneman.
I think Sorales learned something from the start of that race when he went off into the grass, how deep he could actually break that machine, potentially helped him to get around Urrutia, as Urrutia now about 6 car lengths behind the second place machine of Sorales. So the 2 leaders starting to check out just a little bit. Stoneman now with a 5 car length advantage. He really picked him up to turn 6.
If not this time, then soon Sorales is gaining and will have a run either into turn 1 or turn 7. He closes within 5 car lengths for the left-hander at 7. It's Stoneman, Sorales, Urrutia. Then Kaiser comes through. Now Ed Jones running in 5th position. The leader is through 10, back towards the oval.
I'll tell you what, Sorales and that Carlin racing machine just looks quick. That blue machine, he's got a highlighter green accentuating it, trying to reel in now on the leader, Dean Stoneman. Stoneman works his way through 12 and 13, gets a little bit of breathing room through those turns, but then Sorales tries to close in quickly. It's about a 15 car length disadvantage.
And as we've been talking about, as the front 3 make their way out of turn number 14 onto the front straightaway, Michael Young, the interested spectator, is our winner from Phoenix, who's just sitting there lurking in 4th. Kyle Kaiser can't rule him out of this battle yet with 20 to go.
It's been interesting, Nick. I've been watching Kyle each time they come down the front straightaway, and he's closing that gap slowly but surely. Now, of course, that battle with Urrutia and the machine of Sorales kind of helped gap him just a little bit, but he's not really, the leaders aren't pulling away from him at all. So Kyle Kaiser doing a great job, but it's kind of settled down a little bit. It's the Stoneman machine, then Sorales, then Urrutia, then it's back to that Kyle Kaiser. But as I said, he's closing.
How about the battle a little bit further back, Kevin Lee? Scott Hargrove has the 7th position. Scott Anderson's been all over that rear wing with Zachary Clayman DeMello. Those 3 racing down Holman Boulevard.
So we keep an eye on that with the yellow car of Hargrove in front. Anderson looks to the outside, now comes back to the inside. Not going to get him this time. That also allows Clayman DeMello to make a peek to the outside. Can't get him through 8, through 9. They all still say barely separated. So it's Hargrove, Anderson, Clayman DeMello for 7th, 8th, and 9 as they go to turn number 12.
I'll tell you what, Clayman DeMello right there in that 9th spot. He is right on the heels now of Anderson, and Hargrove had to lock up just a little bit moving into 12. That allowed both of them to close in on that number 3 machine. Working their way out of 13. Hargrove holding on to that 7th spot, but doing so very tenuously.
Back up front, Felix Sorales closes to just a couple car lengths through turn number 1, but Michael Young, again, that battle that we've kept an eye on. Scott Hargrove in 7th and Anderson 8th.
Yeah, Rosenquist was able to check out once he got around Hargrove. Now Hargrove, Anderson, and Clayman DeMello. That is the battle into turn number 1. Beach starting to close in. He's currently in the 9th position. But Hargrove able to pull out about a 2 car length advantage now as Anderson seems to have settled back in. Clayman DeMello on the charge as well. Pretty much an even battle through 5 and now through turn number 6. It's the 6th, 7th, and 8th place machines now to turn 7.
So that's settled in a little bit. Let's move back up front where Dean Stoneman is again being challenged by Felix Sorales, and Urrutia is not far behind. 1, 2, 3, pretty close, back on the south end of the oval.
Yeah, Sorales closes in a little bit through turn number 12, and then once again, Stoneman manages to get himself a little bit of breathing room. When they go through 13, Sorales inches in again. Stoneman trying to hold him off now through turn number 14.
Leaders will make their way back out of the oval. The gap is just about 3 or 4 car lengths. In fact, Michael Young, Felix Sorales, he's charging. This is about as close as he's been in a handful of laps.
If Dean Stoneman's driving hard, then Felix Sorales is driving harder. Looks to the inside. Stoneman locks him up into turn number 1. That will allow Sorales to close in on the rear wing. Less than a car length. Stoneman over Felix Sorales. They work their way through turn number 4. Slowly start to accelerate again as Stoneman able to now gap about 2 car lengths as Anderson gets around Hargrove. That happens in turn number 1, but the battle for the lead goes to turn 7.
Sorales took a look at turn number 1. What does he have here into turn 7? The hard-braking left-hander. Not close enough this time.
Oh, and we got
Stoneman
problems,
by 2
Kevin
lengths.
Lee. Kevin, we've got problems. That 3-car battle involving Scott Hargrove, Scott Anderson, and Zachary Clayman DeMello has ended with all 3 of them ending to the outside of turn number 5 and turn number 6. All 3 went sliding into the sand trap. Anderson has made his way out. Clayman DeMello appears to have some serious suspension issues, and that Team Pelfrey car since in the runoff. Now he's got it refired, but I know, Sage, you were keeping an eye on that, and those three were certainly battling awful hard. That, again, was a battle for the 7th position.
Yeah, I mean, that's just inexperience, you know, just a move right there. Probably should have just taken followed Hargrove through and tried to take 1 position instead of 2, but, you know, I mean, those guys are racing hard. I wish this thing would go yellow. You know, that'd be cool to see these guys get bunched back up. You know, Rosenquist right now is running the fastest lap times, and I'd like to see him be able to take the fight to these guys up front.
It was a late breaking move by Zachary Clayman DeMello where he clipped the 77 of Anderson, and all 3 went sliding off. It was a local yellow only, though, Kevin Lee, with 17 to go. That battle for the lead's not going away.
The leaders are still on it. Sorales took a little bit of a look, but not close enough. He closes up to within a half a car length as they go through 7. Stoneman just barely in front, then Sorales. Urrutia is about 3 car lengths back, and Kyle Kaiser is on the scene, maybe 8 to 10 back in 4th position.
I get the impression Sorales has the best car right now of that front 3. At least it seems as though he has the one that he's able to best put where he wants it to go. Right now, where he wants it to go is past Dean Stoneman. But Stoneman right now through turn number 14 has the same advantage as last time by.
Tell you what, Dean Stoneman's done a really, really good job. Anytime he clears turn number 15, he's able to gap it out. Further back now, Zachary Clayman DeMello appears to be buried in some of the grass just off course at the north end of the racetrack. Now he's got that car refired as he'll slip around one of those Angie's List banners, but the miserable day continues for Zachary Clayman DeMello. Sage, we've been watching this front 3 all day long. They can't get away from each other, but you've got to think with the aggressive nature that both Santi Urrutia and Felix Sorales race with, that this thing's far from over.
Yeah, it is. If I were to take a bet right now, I would be putting my money on Sorales. His car looks really, really good. He just needs to figure out, you know, the last section, 13, 14. If he can get through 13 good and set himself up for 14 and get some air to that front wing and not have to lift in the middle of the corner, he's going to get by Stoneman. We've seen Stoneman have to defend quite a few times. He's locked up the front brakes. So he definitely knows Sorales is coming.
And Davey Hamilton, all 3 of these drivers, I mean, they prove they've had fast cars all day long. But again, we have to remind ourselves these are very young drivers that are all hungry for wins, but certainly are capable of making mistakes as well.
Yeah, they are young drivers, but you got to remember, this is the 3rd level of the Indy Lights Road to Indy series. You know, there's the 2000, the Mazdas, and then the Indy Lights. It really, you know, I know they're going to make mistakes. I know they're young, but you'd like to think that the IndyCar guys are looking at the next, you know, superstar, and these guys just don't want to make mistakes like that, especially the ones that really don't benefit. It's always risk to reward, and they're learning a valuable lesson, as Sage said. But man, some of these guys really need to think about, you know, a future, because you don't want to be, you know, named that guy.
15 laps to go. It's still Stoneman, Sorales, and Urrutia. Sage, we've been watching your buddy Zach Veach. He's been soldiering on with that wing damage. Blackstock got him, and it appears that Dalton Kellett's all over. How hard is it to drive when you've got that significant of damage to the front wing?
Yeah, I mean, he's got half a front wing basically right now. So, you know, through these long sweeping turns, he's going to have no front downforce. He probably should have came in at the beginning of this race and got that changed, and would have gave him at least a fighting chance where if it went yellow, and, you know, he could have been right back up there. But yeah, he's going to be struggling.
I'll tell you what, Kevin Lee, Zach Veach has got his hands full with Dalton Kellett. That's a battle for 8th and 9th.
Kellett closes up going into 7, not close enough this time, but it does appear to be only a matter of time as Veach tries to soldier home and get through on this wounded car. The problem with pitting is that if you go a lap down, your race is done. That's the quandary that they're facing. They would have loved to have seen a yellow. Then they could have come in and changed and been a fast car.
Up front, though, it is the front 3 that's kind of stabilized here. Stoneman with 0.7 of a second of a lead over Sorales, and another 0.8 of a second back to Santi Urrutia. Rob Howden standing by on pit lane with 14 to go, with one of the casualties involved in that accident in turn number 5.
Yeah, I've got Zach Clayman DeMello here. You were in the middle of a pretty hardcore battle with Hargrove and Anderson there, and obviously just an aggressive move to the inside, some contact. How do you feel overall about the way that today went for you?
I guess there's positives to take out of the day, even though after the unfortunate event of DNFing, I'm happy with the progress we made and came to the front from the back. But that's what happens when slow drivers qualify at the front. They just cause traffic and balk and try to do stupid things, and I think that's what happened today.
Just time to refocus on the Freedom 100?
Yeah, I'm going to go back, make a new seat, stay with the team and go over some things and try to be as best as I can for the Freedom 100.
Good luck that time.
Thank you.
Freedom 100 coming up for Zach Clayman DeMello. And again, you get all the blocking we do have on the racetrack here lately, and it does get these guys a little bit impatient. And again, that's what we saw from Zach Clayman DeMello. Just try to move. That did not work.
And again, Sage Karam, I mean, these are young kids. Everyone's got to learn at some point. You were in that position just a couple of years ago. Davey was in that position, well, maybe more than a few years ago, Davey. I won't cut
Yeah,
you.
we won't talk about how long ago.
I mean, you guys have to learn it at some point, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, you do. These are obviously the steps to get to the top, and you want to learn as much as you can here. And don't get me wrong, they're going to make mistakes here, and then when they get to IndyCar, they're going to make a lot more mistakes, just like I did. I had a rookie year that had some ups and had a lot of downs, and you just gotta. The main thing is you just don't make the same mistake twice, and these guys are learning.
Davey, race control has told Zach Veach to abandon the racetrack and come down to pit lane. From a race control standpoint, why can't they leave him out there with that damaged front?
Well, I think the wing's getting worse and worse. You see it sagging, and it looks like it may be ready to come off, and just to probably keep it from coming off and, potentially harming him or somebody else behind him, just to get him in before debris goes everywhere and, causes something worse than just a nose wing.
And certainly he had a couple drivers, Dalton Kellett and Scott Anderson, bearing down on him. How about a field reset? Top 10, Dean Stoneman is your leader. Felix Sorrells is second. Santi Urrutia is third. Those front three have checked out. Kyle Kaiser really hasn't closed in much. Ed Jones, though, may be threatening Kaiser for fourth here momentarily. Felix Rosenquist runs sixth. Shelby Blackstock is seventh. Dalton Kellett is eighth. Scott Anderson is ninth. And Zach Veach was 10th a moment ago before he came down to pit lane. He brought that Bilardi Auto Racing machine down to pit lane in front of Rob Howden.
Yeah, Nick, he's in here right now. They're actually having to put a new left front Cooper on the car as well. He flat spotted it. They'll get on the throttle here now and bail out here, but significant damage to the left front corner of the wing. And like Davey said, the thing was hanging on and easily could have come apart and thrown a shrapnel all over the racetrack. So again, Zach Veach in the pit lane, new wing and a new left front.
Leaders setting up for turn number 7. Felix Sorrells again. Jake Query, he's about 2 to 3 car lengths back to Stoneman, enough to make him sweat, but not close enough as they set up around the museum to get alongside of him.
The gap that seems to have closed a little bit is that between Sorrells and not Stoneman in front of him, but rather Urrutia behind him. That distance is about 8 car lengths. But Stoneman, each time that they start to go through that area, 12, 13, 14, Nick, that seems to be where Sorrells is able to close in a bit.
What does that tell you, Sage, about the type of car that maybe Sorrells has that he's able to close in on those portions of the racetrack?
Yeah, no, I mean, he's he could be running a bit more downforce or not. It looks like he can't get it fully done on the straights, but I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say because in some of the long sweeping turns, he can't get close enough, but he can. It's weird. So I don't know what kind of downforce levels these guys are running. I remember they were saying yesterday the Carlin cars didn't have the wicker on, which would mean he was running less downforce, so he'd have more straight line speed. But I don't know what they got going on today.
Felix Rosenquist, who currently runs 6th, he just ran the fastest lap of the day at a minute 16.004. Unfortunately, he's a good 8 seconds behind the leaders as they make their way through turn number 7. Again, Stoneman, Sorrells, Urrutia, Kaiser, and Jones is your top 5 with just 11 laps to go. Felix Rosenquist runs 6th. Shelby Blackstock is 7th. 8th is Dalton Kellett. 9th, Scott Anderson. 10th now is Scott Hargrove. Neil Albarico's had some damage today. He's running in 11th. Zach Veach is 12th. Juan Pedrahita is 13th, and 3 drivers out of the race. Zachary Clayman DeMello, who runs 14th. R.C. Enerson, who completed just 3 laps, he's 15th. And Andre Negrau currently runs 16th. Leaders back out on the front straightaway. Michael Young, they cross the stripe. Just 10 to go. Sorrells still not close enough to get alongside.
No, but I can tell you this. As Stoneman makes his way into turn number 1, we can see 1st through 6th. So Stoneman about a 4 car length advantage over Sorrells. Then it's Urrutia, Kyle Kaiser, Ed Jones, and the 6th running machine of Felix Rosenquist. So as I see Stoneman in turn number 4 right now, Rosenquist just gets through turn number 2. That gap about the same, although it looks like Sorrells slowly but surely starting to reel Stoneman in.
Dean Stoneman, our leader. Rob Howden standing by with a very interested spectator, the owner of that car, Michael Andretti.
Yeah, Michael, is this the kind of weekend you're expecting from this young Englishman? We're obviously 4 events now into the series. He's starting to get a little more comfortable, isn't he?
Yeah, he definitely is. I think with the whole situation, understanding a lot more, and we knew that he's a really good driver, and we're happy to have him in our seat for sure. And as you see, like I said, he's really learning, and he's done a great job on starts. He's been really strong all year on that.
After what happened yesterday, I think he's showing a bit of his character as well. Challenged, of course, by Santi Urruti. He was not very happy in the press conference. To be able to come back here and run for the race win, that says a lot about Dean Stoneman.
Yeah, that's not going to faze him any, for sure. He's been around a long time, so he's not going to be intimidated.
We'll let you stay here and watch the end of this race.
Thank you.
Michael Andretti, folks, very intently watching the TV camera here right now. He'd love to see his new charge, Dean Stoneman, put Andretti into the victory lane here in 2016.
Just 9 laps to go here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in race number 2 of the weekend. Yesterday it was Ed Jones who went to victory lane. Right now he runs in 5th, but still 5.5 seconds behind the front 3. Kevin Lee, they'll go through the switchback in turns 5 and 6. The gap's still about 8 car lengths.
And one thing to keep an eye on that might make this still in play is how are the Cooper tires going to finish? We've seen a lot of lockups throughout the day. The drivers have really been doing everything they can to hit the corners, and just the last time by, we saw Felix Rosenqvist just couldn't get stopped in turn 7. He went off in the grass, so that's something still in question, is how much tire life is left. Today's race is 5 laps longer than yesterday's.
Leaders making their way through the south end of the oval. They'll go through the turns 12, 13, and 14 portion of the racetrack. Sorales, again, right there, about 4 or 5 car lengths back. Sage, Kevin brings up a good point. We have seen a lot of guys locking them up, getting into turn 1, getting into turn 7. When you flat spot a tire, how difficult is the handling on those race cars when that happens?
Yeah, no, it's very difficult. It almost feels like you're, instead of having a circular tire, you got a square tire. And I've seen Dean lock him up maybe 2 or 3 times going into turn 1, so I was pretty concerned that maybe he would have a pretty bad flat spot, but he's been able to hold Felix at bay here. Felix can't get around him or anything, so I mean, that car's still going pretty well, and it looks really close right here. We'll see if he can get a run. He's probably the closest he's been going down here.
Yeah, Kevin Lee Sorales got a good run through the switchback as they set up for 7.
Within 3 car lengths, down to 2, down to 1. Sorales looks to the inside. Stoneman holds him off. Stoneman maintains the lead. It's then Sorales in second, and Urruti is allowed to close up a little bit. They're all separated by 1 to 2 car lengths as they go through 10.
They worked their way through turn number 10. Sorales got just a little bit loose. That gave a little breathing room for Stoneman. Urruti right there. Stoneman now works his way through 11. Now that 12, 13, 14 combo. Sorales can't close in. Urruti right there. Those 3 evenly spaced out, 1, 2, and 3.
Boy, Sorales took a real late look to the inside of turn number 7 as Dalton Kellett goes off course. Michael Young, front 3 again, onto the front straightaway at the oval, but the horsepower of Stoneman's car able to keep Sorales at bay as they set up for 1.
We'll see how Sorales does this time by. He really closed in on Stoneman in turns 3 and 4. That's where he got that nice run then through 5, 6, and down Holman Boulevard. This time by about a 3 car length advantage for Stoneman. Let's see if Sorales can close the gap. Doesn't really do it that much, although he does pick about a car length as Urrutia drops about 4 or 5. So it's Stoneman, then Sorales, then Urrutia. Good battle into turn 7.
Sorales is really good through 5 and 6. That allows him to close up, and that's leading to a passing opportunity. Not close enough this time. Still Stoneman comfortably by 1 to 2 car lengths, and then it's spread out a little bit. Urrutia is another 5 or 6 back, and then probably 10 back to 4th position. Kyle Kaiser. Ed Jones is lurking further back in 5th.
Yeah, good eye, Kevin, because it seems like at different points in the track, each of these guys has a different. Oh, Sorales locked him up going in through turn 12. He's going to go off. That's going to allow Urrutia by. Now Kaiser gets by. Big time problems for Felix Sorales.
Boy, Sorales drives right in front of Kyle Kaiser, nearly made contact. Sage, we saw this yesterday in the closing laps for Sorales, pushing so hard at that end of the racetrack. But what in the world happened there as he was setting up for the lead?
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's just super hungry to get past Stoneman and just pushed it too hard going into 1, and that happens. Locked it up. It's a very tricky corner, and I mean, he just decided to do a lot of dirt track in there. He got in the sand, got in the grass, and then pulled out right in front of Kaiser, which could have been bad, but luckily, I mean, he's still going.
So he not only lost the second spot to Urrutia, the third spot to Kaiser, but down the front stretch, Kevin Lee, Ed Jones slipped around him as well. Those Carlin machines now running 4th and 5th down Holman Boulevard.
So Stoneman's lead is now 15 car lengths on Urrutia, probably 25 from Urrutia to Kaiser for 3rd. Then we have the battle for 4th position, but up front, it is Dean Stoneman. That might have decided the race. We'll see if Urrutia has anything for him.
I'll try this again, Kevin. What we were talking about, it just seems like in different areas of the track, each driver has somewhere where their car gets a little bit stronger. Stoneman, however, has been the most consistent in the fact that in going through the turns, he's able to make up for anything that might take place in those long runs where Sorales was getting some room on him. Of course, now that's all for naught.
Davey Hamilton yesterday, Felix Sorales threw a 5th place finish away and ended up finishing in the 7th position. Here he was poised at the very least for a podium and is now running 6th. For a guy that really wants to win a championship, you have to think that these moments are the ones he's going to think about at the end of the year.
You know, that was an awkward looking, off as well. I mean, it didn't look like a lot of tire smoke. He overshot the corner, but then once he got off, he just kept like going from grass to a runoff lane to the gravel, and so kind of slowed down and getting under control. So the awkward thing to me, I didn't see a lot of tire smoke. He didn't lock the tires up trying to make that corner, but that's a huge mistake. I know he's pushing, I know he's trying hard, but man, sometimes, standing up on that podium in 2nd sure feels a lot better than trying to tell your crew why you're 5th or 6th.
Says, is the nature of that corner as Neil Alberico goes off course into the sand, is the nature of that part of the racetrack where they come out of 11 onto the oval with the banking, can that throw your field of view off when you then have to make a quick right-hander into 12?
I mean, it can, hitting the banking a little bit. Maybe he, I don't know, got onto the banking a weird way or something, but I mean, this late in the race, he's probably doing it the same way over and over and over, but he could be experimenting as well, just trying to get a better run through 12 and 13 and just messed it up during his experimentation. So, yeah, I mean, that's just a mistake, but obviously a costly one.
Neil Alberico, again, off the course. It's been a rough couple of moments here for Carlin Racing as Sorales throws away and put the chance to win, and now Neil Alberico apparently has some damage to one of those tires. He was running in the 11th position. Kevin Lee, leaders set up for the switchback. Urrutia again is close, but this is the part of the racetrack where I've just been so impressed with Dean Stoneman.
He has been able to fend off every challenge here through turn number 7. It's where he gave up the lead yesterday. It's where he got the lead today on the opening lap. There was a challenge for 2nd position. Ed Jones had a mistake in front. Stoneman was trying to hang on for 2nd, and he scooted through to get the lead on the opening lap, and he is clear by about 7 or 8 car lengths this time through in front of Santi Urrutia.
If there's tire degradation, it is not showing at this point because up front, Stoneman, then Urrutia, and Kaiser, all 3 doing so with what appears to be very good grip. Now, that's not to say it might not feel different in the cockpit of the car, but to the eye, they seem very in control here in the late stages.
Leaders swing through the wide and lengthy turn 14, right-hander onto the front straightaway across the yard of bricks. Just 3 laps to go, Michael Young, for Dean Stoneman trying to go to victory lane for the first time.
For our top 5, all 5, with the exception of Dean Stoneman, have won in this 2016 campaign. We thought Stoneman could be a winner potentially. Race number 1 at Barber, then had electrical issues. Was thinking he could win today, but Santi Urrutia has really closed in, got on the rear wing of Stoneman for a moment, dropped back about 4 car lengths, but Santi Urrutia is on the charge.
Last lap, Urrutia was 3/10 faster. Here they go into turn number 7. 3 car lengths down to 2. On the brakes, it's a 1 car length advantage for Dean Stoneman. This one is far from over. Stoneman maintains the advantage, but Urrutia, last year's Pro Mazda champ, was within 2 car lengths. 15 back to Kyle Kaiser. Great recovery for Ed Jones. He's up to 4th, and Felix Sorales runs 5th.
Urrutia now goes to the bottom of the racetrack through turn number 10, and Stoneman tries to hold him off. Stoneman now through 11 and 12 starts to negotiate that 13-14 combo. Anywhere he goes, so too goes Santi Urrutia.
Santi Urrutia's aggressiveness won him a race a couple weeks ago at Barber Motorsports Park. Michael Young, yesterday, it threw away a chance for both of these drivers. 2 to go at the yard of bricks for Dean Stoneman.
Santi Urrutia Urrutia will drive these last laps as if they were his last. Santi now locks him up into turn 1 just a little bit. Stoneman now able to gap about 5 car lengths. Kyle Kaiser in third falls back just a little bit into the clutches of Ed Jones. Then it's Sorrellas fifth, and now Felix Rosenquist starting to join that 6-car battle. So in the lead, it's Dean Stoneman about 6 car lengths over second place Santi Urrutia to 7.
So Stoneman has expanded the gap from last time by. It's 6, 7, maybe even 8 car lengths, but Urrutia is still lurking, wanting to force the Brit into mistake. The 19-year-old from Uruguay running in second, Kaiser back in third. Stoneman right now still in charge, though.
Stoneman trying to hold off Urrutia. He does so, 4 car length advantage. Hargrove, the back marker in front of him. Not going to be enough time for that to come in play. To Kevin's point, Dean Stoneman has not missed a mark all day. Nick, he's only got to go one more circuit pass to get that checkered flag.
Does Santi Urrutia have anything left for Dean Stoneman? Leaders back out onto the front stretch. Good call by Jake Query. There is a lap car about 10 to 15 car lengths ahead. Hopefully that 3 of Scott Hargrove will stay out of the way, but Michael Young, the white flag is out for Dean Stoneman.
The young man from Croydon, England, we thought potentially could have got that win at Barber Motorsports Park, has looked so good this year. His best finish, 2 third-place finishes back at Barber, and then yesterday here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We see the Hargrove machine about 20 car lengths ahead of that battle. For Santi Urrutia, he's down about 6 car lengths. If he wants to get it done, he only has a few turns left to do it.
Can it be 6 winners in 7 races? This might be the last opportunity for Santi Urrutia. He's not close enough through turn number 7. The lap car is not going to be a factor. Dean Stoneman through 7, 8, and 9 by 5 car lengths in front of Santi Urrutia.
It was 5 years ago that Dean Stoneman won what he called the race of his life. In that, he beat cancer. Then he came back through the world of powerboat racing to get those competitive juices going again. Now in the Indy Lights presented by Cooper Tires, Dean Stoneman just a couple turns away. Help bring him home, Nick Yeoman.
The final right-hander onto the front straightaway. The return to prominence in open-wheel racing continues for Dean Stoneman. Down the front straightaway, right fist in the air, pumping as the twin checkered flags fall. Checkered flag is out, and Dean Stoneman is a winner for the first time in the Indy Light Series presented by Cooper Tires. And Sage Karam, what a remarkable story for, as Jake talked about, a young man that overcame cancer, but ultimately didn't put a wheel wrong all day long.